Hey guys, in today's player requested video, I'm going to be showing you some suggested parts to swap out on your Generation 1 or Generation 2 First Strike T15. Now quickly, tooling wise, what are you going to need? You are going to need a small enough Allen key that will fit into this small little hole to push down and hold a spring-loaded pin to help remove your upper manifold. I myself am using a 164 Allen key. All right, next you're going to need a 332 Allen key. You're going to need that to push through a cross pin and remove a couple of screws on the inside of your lower receiver. You'll see why in a little bit. All right. And finally, you will also need some oil. I really strongly suggest you use what's recommended in the manual, which, if I remember correctly, is First Strike Operator Tiers. At one point or another, they suggested Exalt Vitamin O and Gold Cup. I guess those are the oils of choice to use to lubricate or oil your First Strike T15. Okay, so to get started, I am going to start off with the upper manifold, and I'm going to show you the difference between old and new parts, and the reason why an update was made and done. All right, so if you can't tell already, you can kind of see why they already updated the upper manifold. So what was happening originally was, with the old style upper manifold, it was shaped, there was a groove that was cut in that was shaped like a digital zero, and they put in a round O-ring to help seal between the upper and lower receivers. Problem that players were having as life went on and the marker was on the market is getting that O-ring, as you can see, to stay seated in that ring or in that groove long enough to be able to seal between the upper or close the upper and lower receivers. So their fix was to redesign the groove in the upper manifold a little bit, and they added this cross member or this cross beam to the O-ring. Just to help show you a little bit better, grab this guy. So what they wound up doing is cutting in a groove in the center of the upper manifold so this cross beam would help keep the rest of the O-ring seated properly. And honestly, it was a fantastic fix. It worked. But it also, I don't know if it was intentional or not, also made your marker a little bit more air efficient. Because that cross beam also wound up sealing between the velocity adjustment screw pathway, air pathway, and the recock air pathways. So I myself, when I originally swapped out manifolds way back when, found myself getting more shots out of the marker itself. I probably about a half mag to a full mag increase, which I guess was a bonus. So definitely something you'd want to consider swapping out on your T15. All right, so to do that, I guess I'll show you first. You set your marker aside. You're going to grab that small-sized Allen key, the 164 that I'm using, push down and hold that spring-loaded pin in your upper or lower receiver. All right, grab your upper manifold and start wiggling it back and forth while lifting upwards. All right, just keep going. It'll come out. They always do. Some are easier than others. Yeah, there you go. Pops right out. Okay. I'm not going to install this guy yet because there's more stuff on the inside down below that we want to swap out. So I'll show you how to install this guy at the end of the video, I guess. All right. Next, we are going to remove, with our 332 Allen key, this black plate. Now, what that does is allow us to remove our valve pin, and I'm not too sure if you can see it, but there is a silver ring in here that we want to replace as well, and I will describe the benefits of doing both as soon as we take it apart. All right, so grab your Allen key, go to your cross pin, and from left to right, push that cross pin out. All right, don't lose it, set it aside. Next, you're going to do these two screws, loosen them. Now, as you're loosening them, I really strongly suggest thumb, forefinger, something, hold down this black plate because it is spring-loaded underneath. There is a spring pushing up on that valve pin, so the last thing you want to do is have bits flying all over the place. Okay, so you can carefully remove that. You can dump out the screws, and there you go. This is what we're left with. Valve pin seat ring. There's a spring in there. The air chamber down below, but we're not too worried about those guys right now. We want to look at these two things. So what was happening was, originally, the reason why they had to do a fix for it was as the bolt was cycling, part of the bolt would catch the tip of the valve pin and shear out and pop out that ball bearing, which would send it flying in your upper receiver and run amok and basically slice and dice and destroy and crack your black bulkhead to your bolt. And on the rare occasion, I did see it actually wind up damaging the interior of the bolt sleeve. So, I mean, that was not good. right? So their fix was to redesign, well, not really redesign, sort of tweak these two parts. So what they did, this is the valve pin seat ring. This is the part that keeps it seated in the lower and helps the air pathway seal up. They redesigned it and created a taller ring, all right? What this ring did was basically pull down that valve pin, probably about 1 millimeter, not even, but pull down that valve pin just enough so that the bolt, as it was cycling, had less to potentially catch on and shear off the ball bearing, okay? So that was one fix, all right? The other fix was between the valve pins. Let's see, here we go. I don't know if you can quite see this in the camera. I will try to post up a picture to show you a close-up. But basically the old style valve pin had sort of a cliff edge to the tip of it where the ball bearing was. And the newer redesigned one sort of had a tapered top. Smoother to the touch, less for a bolt to catch on as it's cycling back and forth. So that was one approach they did, or one change they did to the valve pin to help get rid of the valve pin shearing. And also they changed, I believe, the material or the mix of metal in the valve pin stem. Doing both combined made the valve pin a little bit more robust, actually a lot more robust, because honestly I haven't really seen any sheared valve pin ball bearings since they'd done this fix and people have started using it. Anyways, like I said, the two steps combined have actually wound up leading to that problem being near to next to non-existent. Okay, set that guy aside, and I'm going to show you how to install these guys. So, first up, you're going to take your valve pin seat ring. You're going to add a drop of oil to the O-ring that's on it. Okay, give it a little bit of a smear around, make it nice and moist. Okay, you're going to seat that on top of your valve pin. And place the valve pin on the spring in the air chamber. And believe it or not, you're going to grab this valve pin plate cover, and it should all mash together. Just like that, okay? Remember, it's spring-loaded. Don't lose it. Don't let it go. Grab your cross pin, okay? This is an older version. It has like a little sort of C-clip to it. The newer versions have a spring-loaded ball bearing in them instead. Those are way better. I like those more, but this guy still works. This guy, like, there's no reason for me to really swap it out because it still does what it's supposed to do. And it's kind of a nostalgic reason too, because it's still part of the first Gen T15, like the one I'm working on right now. Okay, so from right to left, you're going to push this cross pin back in until it's flush on either side, okay? Next up, you're going to grab your two screws and place them back in their holes. Now, don't forget, when you're tightening these guys down, all you need to do is make it snug first on both, okay? Snug, quarter turn. Snug, quarter turn. You don't want to over torque these guys because the threads that are in the hole are part of the lower receiver. So if you strip them, you're stripping the lower receiver basically. That could really be, not a good thing if you strip those threads. Now, I'm pretty sure from the factory, they don't stop at the exact length of these screws. Pretty sure there are 3, maybe 4 threads further down into the hole for you to potentially grab on with a longer screw. But I mean, if you don't need to do it or because you stripped it, you want to try to avoid that headache. And I also have seen it done and have done it myself where I've replaced it with the longer screw to grab those threads. I honestly can't remember what the threads are on these. If you really need to know, shoot me a PM or message and I will look it up for you, right? Okay, next, grab your oil. You are going to move your valve pin off to the side. You're going to add 1 drop to the base of the valve pin, just like that. Give it a little bit of a swirl with your valve pin. Leave it alone. Grab your oil again, 1 drop on either side of the egg-shaped O-ring. That's what I call it, because it is shaped like an egg. All right, give it a smear around. And that's it. Center your valve pin. With any little residue on your fingertip, give the valve pin itself a little bit of a smear. It'll just help that part of the valve pin sort of motion up and downwards in the upper manifold itself. Okay, gonna grab your upper manifold, place it over top of the valve pin, grab your smaller pin, push and hold down that silver pin on the side of it, and then push down on your upper manifold until you hear it click. All right, grab your O-ring oil one last time, 1 drop on either side of that 8-shaped O-ring. Give it a smear, and you're done. All right, maybe just check, make sure your valve pin goes up and down freely, and then you're good to go. That's your update. Okay, so changing out those parts just quickly, just surmise. valve pin and the valve pin ring will basically help eliminate any kind of possibility of the valve pin ball bearing getting sheared off from your bolt as it cycles back and forth. That's a good thing, I guess, because you don't want to have to change a bolt kit or a bolt sleeve, especially on these older Gen T15s, because the bolt sleeves are next to near impossible to come by. And also changing your upper manifold will help a little bit with your efficiency. Like I said before, guys, in my experience or what I've seen for myself, changing that upper manifold alone probably increased my my air efficiency enough to give me an extra half mag to a full mag more to shoot, if that makes sense. But yeah, I guess that's about it. If there's any problems, questions, or concerns, as always, guys, post a message, shoot me a PM. I'll help out as best I can. And yeah, cheers.